Please introduce yourself, state your name and DOC number for the record.
Armando Murray, 387805.
Mr. Murray, my name is Brendan Kelsey, along with me is Mr. Tony Marabella. Mr. Pete Freeman will be your panel. We'll have a parole interview, ask you some questions. You can respond at the end. You can make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we have Carrie Myers, Norris Henderson, Adrienne Hudson, Gwendolyn Stevenson, Ricardo Stevenson, and then we'll have three speak at the appropriate time. And we also have victims Rose Bacchus and Monique Bacchus who will speak at the appropriate time. Armando Murray DOC number 387805, first class offender, parole eligibility date 9/13/2021, no good time, life sentence for first degree rape, aggravated oral sexual battery, and armed robbery. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you answer Mr. Marabella, please?
Good morning, Mr. Murray. My name is Tony Marabella. I'm going to ask you a few questions. How old are you, sir?
44,
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
27 years.
So you were how old when this offense occurred?
I was 17.
So tell me who you were at 17 years old. How far had you gone in school?
I went to the 10th grade.
Okay, why'd you drop out?
I never dropped out. I was in school when I got during
So
the
you
time
were
of
in
my
the
arrest.
10th grade when this happened.
I was a junior when this happened.
So talk to me a little bit about what was going on with you in your family life at school. There's a lot of discussion about wanting to be in a gang and that sort of stuff. So tell me what was going on in your life back then.
I just got put out of private school and I left private school where I was playing football and I went to a public school to play football and trying to adjust, trying to fit in with the people who I met in public school. It was a different surrounding. It was different people who I was around and I picked the wrong crowd to really want to hang with. I wanted to be accepted by these people and it led to me doing things that I knew was wrong that I wouldn't usually do.
So tell me how that relationship with that gang or your wanting to be part of them got you to commit this horrible crime.
Well, I left school and I went to a party one evening, and at the party we were drinking and doing drugs, which was like a usual thing, hanging out with these people. And one of the older guys in the gang came to me and he was like, today was the day that I had to prove myself to them. And they came up and they told me what I needed to do. And at that moment, I knew that it was wrong, but I also knew that I just felt like I couldn't say no because these people knew, where my house was. It was just me and my mother. They knew where my mother lived. And I just felt like I was in a situation where I couldn't say no. And I'm not making excuses. I knew it was wrong, but I just feel like I kind of didn't have a choice. And I put myself in that situation to where, I just couldn't do anything.
Let's talk a little bit. Let's back up just a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the drinking and the drugs. When did you start drinking and doing drugs?
I started drinking maybe at like little sips at maybe like 9, 10 years old.
Okay.
And I started, smoking marijuana and stuff maybe like 2 years later, 10 or 11. And it was just like a thing being in the neighborhood, like casual. It was like cigarettes. And that's how I started.
There? What did you progress to from there?
From there, I've done cocaine in different forms. That was basically it. That was like my highest elevation was like cocaine.
Why did you leave the private school and go to the public school?
Dealing with my sports, I thought it was a better opportunity to play because the school I was in, it was a lot of good guys. It was a lot of guys who were better than me, and it was like I had to wait my time to get on the field. Going to public school, I had a better opportunity to play at the time, and just trying to be successful in sports, I thought it was a better.
Did your drug use increase when you went to public school?
Yes, sir, it did. When I was at private school, I
Drugs were
really,
used the night before. You said the night before was when they told you it's your turn to do whatever it is they told you to do. What kind of drugs were you using that night?
I was using marijuana and cocaine, alcohol.
And how often were you using marijuana and cocaine during that time?
At that time, it was, when I was hanging out with these guys, this was what was always around. And me hanging out with them was basically at that moment, like every day.
So you were using drugs pretty much every day.
Yes, sir.
So tell me what happened. Tell me how you planned this, what you decided to do when you went into that store.
Well, when they told me what I needed to do,
What did they tell you needed to do?
pretty much walked from.
What did they specifically tell you needed to do?
They told me that I needed to go rob the store and that I needed to rape the attendant at the store.
Specifically that store?
Yes, sir.
Did you know the young lady there?
No, sir. When they told me that, they walked me across the highway because I had to cross the highway from where the party was. They walked me across the highway and they waited for me in the back alley while I went in.
Tell me what you did.
I went into the store, I robbed the store, and then I assaulted the lady in the store.
What did you make her do?
I tried to have sex with the lady.
You had a gun?
I had, they gave me a pellet gun.
Did you threaten to hurt her or kill her?
Yes, I did. I believe I did.
Why did you do that? Did they tell you to do that?
No. To be honest with you, I believe it was just like, I was scared and I was trying to make the person more scared than I was. I was just trying to do what they told me to do and just really just get it over with.
Now, you've been in prison, you told me, for what, 27 years?
27 years, sir.
You've taken sex offender treatment?
Yes, sir, I have.
You all felt 4 phases of them?
Yes, sir, and I facilitated the class for over 2 years.
Tell me what you've learned in that sex offender treatment program.
In the first phase of the program, I learned how to recognize and identify the risk factors. There are 27 risk factors, and you have to learn the risk factors. You have to learn what each one means. And in the second phase is identifying those risk factors in situations, knowing when there are multiple risk factors in certain situations. In the third phase, you learn to use the ROCO scale, which is knowing if you're in a low, moderate, or high risk situation. And then the fourth phase is facilitating the class for someone else.
Talk to me about facilitating. What did you learn about yourself when you went through that program and in your facilitating role? What did you learn about
In
yourself?
facilitating a program, being able to facilitate the program makes you understand the information more. It makes you be able to understand that what you're dealing with or what's going on is like more knowledgeable of the situation. What I learned about myself is that I was really never the person who should have went through this. I made a mistake, and that just learning the information, dealing with the information, it helps you to be able to realize that you can make it to where you'll never make this mistake again, knowing that you understand when you're in a situation where you're high at risk or when you need to step away and to just, step back from a situation.
Mr. Murray,
Just dealing
Mr. Murray, I hear you talking and explaining to me and to us about you.
Yes, sir.
I think what you did, the horrible thing you did to that young lady, how do you think she's lived with this all these years?
To be honest with you, sir, I knew it to be able to put a negative or a scar on somebody's life it's a hard thing to deal with, knowing that you just being able to say that you're sorry is not going to help that person, and it's something that they have to constantly deal with over in life. Going through victim awareness, it was like it opened my eyes to a lot, because I knew that this was something that I just couldn't fix. I knew that this was something that is going to take time, and just being sorry for it or just dealing with it, you have to, it's more than that. And it's hard for me to understand, because it's hard for me to really put this in words, but dealing with the classes and facilitating the classes and going through the classes, it helps change you for the better as a better person. It's like, it's the growth, because I know that when this class started, I was a completely different person when the class ended, because I learned so much. I never really looked at how much this affected more than just one person, more than just my victim. It affected my victim's family, it affected the community and everything. And just being able to open my eyes to this, it just helped me to be in a better place now.
Let's move in a little different direction now. You've taken a lot of vocational programs.
Yes, sir.
Welding, you're a welding tutor. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. In dealing with the program and going through the program, I stayed in a program and I became a tutor. In becoming a tutor, I helped to teach other inmates, a lot of guys who are in a reentry program, teach them the welding skills that I learned, to where they'll be able to go out there and financially support themselves, where they'll be able to adjust in society better. And welding, for me, this is something that is very peaceful for me. I enjoy it, and hopefully I hope to be able to take care of myself financially doing the same thing.
Now, you had a write-up in 2021. Your last write-up was in 2021, a contraband. What was that about?
Yes, sir. I got caught with some marijuana. It was during COVID, and I was in a situation where I couldn't talk to I have Alcoholics Anonymous and NA sponsor here. I've been going through the program, and we were quarantined. I couldn't talk to my sponsor at the time or my group leader, and I was just in a weak point. I made a mistake. I take full accountability for making that mistake. I thought that at that time that this would make my situation better, but knowing now, looking at it in retrospect, I made it worse.
What is your plan to stay sober and not do that again?
I have great family and friend support who are going to help me continue my NA and my AA on the street. I plan on getting a sponsor, and I plan on continuing to go to meetings when released.
Now, you've done Living in Balance and Thinking for a Change. What other substance abuse programs have you had? Did you go to Steve Hoyle? Have you done any long-term drug rehab program?
Yes, sir. I've been part of the 12-step program for over 2 years now. Like I said, I've been going to AA and NA twice a week, every week.
That's the educational part. Have you ever had treatment, long-term substance abuse treatment?
No, sir.
Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Murray?
So Mr. Murray has been working in a capacity for us in various capacities. He's been a Catholic peer minister as well as with the VOTEC, with his welding. He has had the write-ups that you discussed just a few minutes ago. As far as his disciplinary, anything outside of, not had any physical altercations or anything like that. It's been contraband.
He had a write-up in 2019 also for contraband. What was that, Warden? Do you have that information?
Give me just a second.
If they say so. We wouldn't say either.
I'm scared.
Bear with me. He had cell phone charging cords and a charging block in his possession.
Thank you, Warden. That's all.
All right. Brief statement from Mr. Kerry Myers.
Yes, good afternoon. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. Mr. Murray was 17 when he committed this crime. 17 in the whole premise behind Graham and Miller and Montgomery is the fact that children are susceptible to influences beyond their capability of handling them. The work that he's done during his incarceration, actually the fact that he's given back as an educator, a tutor, a mentor, is significant. It shows a lot about Mr. Murray, about his maturity. As a Parole Project will provide reentry services, because he would be required to be registered. He would go home to his family home once approved. We have a reentry specialist that works out of New Orleans who will work with Mr. Murray, who will transport him to Baton Rouge during the initial reentry phase to go to classes. It just wouldn't be a living situation because of his registration requirements. But Parole Project does support him through his transition.
All right, thank you. Is Mr. Norris Henderson here?
Yes, excuse me, my camera just acting crazy.
That's okay. Yeah, go ahead. You can make a brief statement. Go ahead.
Yes, I've been on Armando for the whole while he's been down. And one of the things I encouraged Armando when we first got there was because he was educated, he was kind of like above the 17-year-olds who were around there. And to hear him speak now about all the things that we accomplished, I'm very proud of him. And I should always tell him to teach us to learn twice. And it seemed like he's kind of like follow that directive, just like Kerry said, I'm in New Orleans and willing to help Armando to transition as best as humanly possible for him. He has a good family and we can, between the Parole Project, First 72 and vote, we can help support Armando to be successful once he's re-enters.
All right, thank you. Ricardo Stevenson.
Yes. Can you see me?
Yes, sir. You're fine right there. You can go ahead and make a statement.
My name is Ricardo Stevenson. I'm Armando's uncle and also his godfather. I here to support him today because I think and believe that he's remorseful for what he has done in the past. But right now, currently, I want to set my reputation on the line and say that if he is released, I would be there. I would be the number one person to contact. His auntie would be number two. We want to take any avenue that we have to support him in his re-entry back to society. That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll hear from Miss Rose Bacchus now.
Hello.
Okay, I can hear you, Miss Rose. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I don't want to speak.
Oh, you don't?
Um,
Okay, you don't speak, or Miss Monique, neither one says on here you want to speak. Okay, thank you.
Monique does. No. Monique wants to speak.
Okay, Monique. Okay, go ahead, Monique.
Hi, thank you, sir. I am Roseanne's daughter, Monique. I would just like to let the board know just how this has affected my mom. You know, I was 13 when this happened. I'm 40 now. And since then, I can remember my mom living in such fear every time she turned a corner. She has lived in fear in her house. She has lived in fear in everything she has done. She was threatened that he would come after her. He would blow her brains out. And she is terrified. She has been terrified all of this time. I think he mentioned, you know, he did this because these people knew where he lived and his mom lived. Well, this is a fear for her, a fear for me, I fear for my daughter. You know, we live with that fear now and have every day. Since this has occurred, I have watched the way it has affected my mom, from her just severe depression, not being able to sleep. At one point, she's turned to alcoholism to try to deal with all of this. And she's been in a lot of therapy. I have to say, it sort of also concerned me or worries me that he regards this as trying to have sex with my mother. This was not sex. This was rape. It wasn't a mistake. It was a heinous crime. You know, I have to say, maybe in the last 5, 8, 10 years, I haven't heard so much about my mom being so scared or concerned about this. It's like she started learning how to live without this being the first thought every morning when she woke up. But since this hearing and the hearing that was supposed to take place a year ago has come up, all she has thought about is, what do I do now? Where do I go? How do I hide? Back when this all occurred, we had the white pages and mom was always unlisted. Now we have the internet at our hands and it's really easy to find people. From what I see with my mom, I don't think she will ever feel safe. She will ever feel like she can hide. She wants to move. She wants to leave the state. She'd like to leave the planet if she could. And I just want you to know just how bad this has really affected her. Also, I heard, you know, that he was in trouble in 2021 and in 2019. And it just makes me wonder if, you know, he hasn't been able to follow the rules while he's been incarcerated. How am I supposed to believe, or my mom or whatever, you know, that he's going to follow the rules when he's not in prison? He's been in a lot of programs and I can appreciate that. However, he's still making what he calls them, quote unquote, mistakes with the substance abuse. And where will that end if he is released? I think that's about it. I'm a little nervous and emotional, but I hope I conveyed our feelings and how it's affected us.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
All right, Armando, would you like to make a statement on your behalf, and then we'll let your attorney wrap it up at the end?
Yes, sir. First of all, I just want to say how truly sorry I am to my victim, how truly sorry I am that I put you through what I put you through, that I hope that someday that, you'll be able to,
Speak to
recover
the
from.
board, speak to us, directly to us. Back.
I couldn't hear you. Could you say it again, sir?
Speak directly to the board. Don't speak to anybody else. Speak directly to us, whatever you want to
I couldn't
say.
hear you. Could you say that again? Okay.
Speak to the board, whatever you like to say, speak to the board.
Okay, I just want to say how sorry and how remorseful I am since I've been here, I've taken my time to grow, and that I am not the same person who I was when I first came here. Even when I didn't know that I had an opportunity at release, I always used my time positively to try to grow in some fact. And I don't believe that I am a threat to society and that I am a better person now than when I was then. I just want to thank you for the opportunity of being here, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Adrienne Hudson, would you like to wrap it up?
Yes, sir. So at 17 years old, Armando committed a horrible crime, which he acknowledges. He was young and obviously reckless at the time. And he's not using his age as an excuse, but as you see in my brief, we do discuss that children are wired different at a young age. Cognitively, they're more impulsive in the presence of peers, even if they're not directly next to you, increases those risky behaviors. And so while Armando does take full responsibility, I do want to acknowledge that his age played a factor in him going through with that crime. Armando talked about age and growth. And I think over time, he's learned the magnitude of his crime and the effects that it's had on his victim and the lifelong trauma she'll endure for it. And I do think that although he's nervous and he maybe didn't articulate it well, he has constantly continued to talk about him understanding that part. One thing I'd like to make note of is that Armando took risk management fairly early in his incarceration. So he jumped into understanding that early on. And I think Mr. Henderson mentioned the teacher learns twice. And I think that allowed him to continue to reinforce what he had learned while he continued to teach it. To pivot a little, I do want to discuss Armando today and the maturity, and how he's grown. At 44 years old, he's a man of faith. He's an inmate minister, praying with inmates at the hospital and raising money for Catholic schools, and working with the chapel to mentor others with their faith. While he has had hiccups in his sobriety, he's recommitted himself to it. We have 7-day-a-week AA and NA meetings in the area in which he looks to be paroled to, and he's not opposed to a long-term treatment plan. His mother was a teacher, and like her, he's been committed to helping others while he was here. He was a GED tutor, and he didn't speak much about it, but Armando over the years has probably tutored over 200 men, whether or not they were able to receive their GED or just learn to communicate with their family. I know there was some discussion about Armando's write-ups, but to be clear, 94% of his write-ups are over a decade old. He's been a welding tutor and again, a peer facilitator for risk management. He has a strong reentry plan tailored to help Armando, who left society as a child, adapt as an adult. As you know, the Louisiana Parole Project area expertise is juvenile lifers. And our founder was a juvenile lifer. And so our extensive support for his reentry is here for him. He has his godparents available to him, and they're committed to helping him navigate society. He wants to go to the final stage of his welding certificate so that he can continue to work and provide and be a productive member of society. He looks forward to finding a church home. And again, with the support of Louisiana Parole Project being here to help. For these reasons, we respectfully ask the board to look at his rehabilitation, his character, and his remorse and his growth, both mentally and spiritually, and grant his parole. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, fair to vote,
Yes.
Mr. Marabella.
Mr. Murray, I've reviewed your record. I've listened intently to what you had to say. You've come a long way. You entered prison as a 17-year-old. You've been in prison for 27 years, and I do understand and I do agree that at such a young age, it's easy to be led by other people. But the crime that you committed was a horrible crime. This victim, this lady, is still experiencing that. She's deathly afraid of your getting out, for fear that something may happen to her. And her friend, her daughter, legitimately raises the issue that, you haven't followed all of the rules. Just a couple of years ago, you got a write-up for drugs. And as you said, drugs were a very serious part of what it is you did back then. And you've spent a long time working hard to try to stay away from drugs. I don't see that you've taken very much since that incident. You did take thinking for a change, but you've never been through any sort of long-term treatment. While you've got a lot of very positive things going for you, you low risk, you've got a lot of good programs, a lot of vocational community service that you've done for people. You've got good clubs there. And you've got a good transition plan in place. I'm willing to take a chance on you, but only if you complete a long-term substance abuse treatment program while in prison. So my vote would be to grant conditionally upon your enrolling in and completing a long-term treatment program while you're in the Department of Corrections, primarily Steve Boyle. And once you complete that program, if you complete that program successfully in the time allotted, then your conditions would be that you go to the Louisiana Parole Project, follow whatever recommendations they make, that you attend at least 3 AA meetings per week, that you have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., that you're randomly drug tested, that you follow all sex offender laws and registration requirements, and that you have no contact whatsoever with the victim in this case or her family in any way. I'm just one vote, and that's my vote, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Freeman.
This is tough. You were young, but the crime was very, very heinous. And, you could tell about listening to the victim's daughter, and the victim couldn't even speak, that they are still afraid of you, and they probably have every right to be afraid of you. I'm gonna go along with Mr. Marabella, but I'm gonna add the condition that you be placed on electronic monitoring for at least the first 2 years of your supervision. And if you come anywhere near that victim, you will be arrested. Okay? Also, I'm going to make the condition that you stay out of St. Tammany Parish.
All right, Jeff, 2 votes to grant the Steve Hall Extensive Substance Abuse Program. Also, I'm going to vote to grant for the same reasons as stated. You'll have electronic monitoring for 2 years. After you successfully complete Steve Hall Intensive Substance Abuse Program, you'll have electronic monitoring for 2 years. Stay out of St. Tammany Parish. You'll have curfew 9 p to 6 a. Apply with the sex offender treatment that affects restrictions, sex offender restrictions, no contact with the victim or victim's family, random drug screens, NAAA 3 times a week. You understand all the stipulations?
Yes, sir.
All right, 3 votes to grant Steve Hall Intensive Substance Abuse Program. Good luck to you.
Thank you.